welcome to our Realize webinar. So excited to kick off this brand new accelerator. My name is Charlotte Triplett. I'm the Director of Venture Acceleration here at University Lab Partners. I'm also a founding partner and advisor to Suncoast Ventures. So did raise a venture fund with a partner and have deployed capital as an investor. And I have listened to a lot of pitches in my time. I've worked with companies and accelerators and have been able to help pull together the program for Realize that comes from my background and experience and all the learnings that I've had in running those other accelerators. So I'm excited to share more about that. But before we get started, I want to talk to you a little bit about University Lab Partners. So we are OC's Life Science Incubator and Accelerator with 2 locations here in Orange County, one right here in Irvine in the UCI Research Park, and the other is on the Soka University campus. We have 50,000 square feet of laboratory and office space. We have over $3 million in shared resources and equipment. We have an amazing view that you can see there on our picture, which is pretty hard to beat. We also have accelerator services support for our incubating companies. And then we are the medical device and diagnostics hub for the BARDA Accelerator Network. And we do run another accelerator that I'm not going to be talking about today that is called iCreate, and that is currently in process with our first cohort, but we will likely be having another solicitation for announcement for that accelerator coming up here in just the next couple months. So keep your eyes out for that as well. So we do have many things going on all the time here at University Lab Partners, but I want to talk a little bit about the sort of 3 areas. I did mention, of course, the incubator side of the house, which is that we do have the ability for startups to sort of land here and as small as a single lab bench plus a cubicle. But they can also expand as they grow. And so we do have full offices, we have laboratory suites. And so that's one aspect of our business here at University Lab Partners. We currently have about 40 companies incubating with us. We also have not just startups, we have companies that are actually publicly traded and in our facility as well, which just makes it a great environment for innovation. I would say we have about 50%, 50-50 life sciences and biotech, more therapeutic, wet lab type companies, and then 50% medical device, which probably makes sense to those of you that understand that Orange County is a real big hub for medical device innovation. We do have our accelerator programs, which I help support and lead with my colleague Stephanie Chan. As I mentioned, we have both a Sparta iCreate accelerator that we are running currently, as well as we have our Realize Accelerator, which we just launched. And then lastly, we have amazing workforce development. So we teach all kinds of STEM educational classes to both high school and college students and even to professionals. And that side of the house works regionally within Orange County to support the next generation of innovators and scientists and engineers. And so that's just a little bit more about ULP. Certainly, if you have any questions, there's going to be plenty of time at the end of my brief sort of presentation here that I can answer those individually. So I want to kick off and start talking a little bit more about Realize. That's why you're all here today, is to learn more about this new accelerator. And I just noticed that Stephanie joined. Stephanie Chan, my colleague, just joined the chat here as well. So she and I will both be here to answer your questions at the end. So excited to have Stephanie with us. Stephanie, you want to wave hello? Great. So Realize is a 12-week program, and it's designed for medical device diagnostics and digital health startups. If you don't happen to be in that category, say you're a therapeutic or you are a biotech more focused company, the reason that we have designed it this way is because the mentors and the investors and the critical path forward and timing and everything is very different for those types of companies. It's not that we don't care care about those companies? We absolutely do. We have many of those in our incubator, and we're going to be launching the Realize version for those companies next. So we'll have another cohort that will be focused in that area. So stay tuned if that's you. A lot of this will still apply, but we'll have some additional mentors that will be very different for that program. So who should apply to the program? You should be Southern California based. And by that, we really mean that you should be based. I'll talk a little bit more about in the next slide about what does that mean. You should be sort of pre-seed, seed stage. You don't have to have raised outside money. It's okay if you've only done grant funding or bootstrap to date, but if you have raised money, probably you're not Series A and beyond. Although if you are and you feel like you need some of the help that we offer here, we certainly wouldn't turn down applications there, but it really is focused on that sort of pre-seed and seed stage startup. When it says full-time commitment, that means that you should have at least one employee full-time in your company, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. I think this one is really critical and goes without saying, but you should be solving an unmet need. So if you are a technology seeking a problem, that is something that you're probably too early of a stage for our accelerator. We really are looking for people who have some idea of what kind of problem they are solving and why it's an unmet need and why they're going after it. And then lastly, you need to be serious about this. So this accelerator program is truly designed to accelerate your startup. And if you are willing to put in the work, we're willing to put in the work with you and to give you this amazing selection of mentors that I will share with you at the end to help you with that. And to that point, for this accelerator, we do not have investment associated. However, we do have in-kind prizes, including potentially being able to have a lab bench for free for 6 months here at ULP, as well as other in-kind prizes from our amazing partners. And so we also don't take equity. So we're not taking any part of your company, and we have an amazing set of folks to help support you. So a little bit more about the qualifications. And so as I mentioned before, you should have at least one team member in one of these counties listed below. It is the 10 counties in the bottom half of California. So from Santa Barbara all the way down to Mexico, we're doing that entire swath. I'm super excited about that. We're kind of dead in the middle, so it's perfect in terms of that. And we are running a hybrid program, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like in just a minute. So you do need to have at least one full-time person in the company. That does not mean that person needs to be paid. It could be just a founder that is literally just slaving away, making that startup work. That's totally fine. But we need to know that at least one person in the company is working full-time at it because for us, that's a critical sort of step or a stage that happens for companies. You also need to commit to this program. It is a 6-hour-a-week touch point for 12 weeks, and I'll talk a little bit more about exactly what that looks like. But we're talking about carving out some time from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific time on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays to be able to fully be here. Now, we do understand that there is going to be maybe a day or two during this time that you may not be able to make it. We hope that you can send a team member if that is the case. We would like to have the CEO fully engaged in this program. It really is intended to be for early stage CEOs. However, we're super excited. The more team members you want to bring to this program, the merrier. We're excited to have your whole team join us in this accelerator. You should be an incorporated company. So we're not looking for people who are still at the lab stage, still at the project stage, haven't really committed to becoming a company. If you are an LLC, however, you need to be willing to convert to a C Corp. We won't hold it against you in the accelerator applications, but it is a commitment that we expect from you. And I'll tell you why. It's because investors expect it from you, and we really want to get you investor ready. So we don't want to set you up for failure by not having you convert your company by the time that we are putting you in front of investors. To that same point, you should also have your IP already licensed in. You should own your IP or have it licensed in, and or if you're if you're taking your IP out of a university, you should have a term sheet in your hand, meaning you should be able to pull the trigger on licensing that. I don't know how many of you have licensed technology out of universities before, but it's not a simple or a straightforward process. It can take up to 10 months to a year sometimes for this to happen. And again, investors are going to want to see that prior to investing typically. And so we do want to make sure that that's the case for you to set you up for success. So the last point here is that you need to have a venture scalable market. What do I mean by that? I mean, there's plenty of ideas and plenty of early stage companies out there that might be infinitely angel backable and investable, but they may not have a venture size market. So typically that means that you need to have a market that has a B in there, so in the billions, to start at the largest point. So say you were able to capture the entire part of your market, there should be a billions in that. And so it's something to think about. It's also true that sometimes we might not have a venture scalable market with our first beachhead product or the beachhead market, but we have multiple successions of markets. And so we are also looking at that when we evaluate your application. So let me tell you just a little bit more about this program. So it is kicking off in person June 4th, and these two dates here are set in stone. They are required that you be here on site in Irvine. And the entire rest of the program is done virtually with the exception of one pitch practice that we're going to hold in person a little bit closer to this demo day down here in Irvine at our facility. So the great part about this is that when we kick off, we're going to do a 6-hour day. You're going to get to meet the rest of your other fellow founders, as well as have lunch and connect with mentors and investors. We're going to be doing an investor panel as well as an exited founder panel to kind of give you some taste of what investors are looking for. And some other founders, obviously, that have been successful are going to share their journey. The demo day is going to be very exciting. It'll be in person. We will have investors from all over the Southern California region in attendance, as well as hopefully some that are flying in from other places. I think it's going to be a big enough deal that we're going to get some out-of-state investors. So very excited about that. During that time, you will compete for the prizes that'll be awarded to the top 3 startups. If you have questions at the end, I can answer a little bit more questions about that. Some of these things are still working out because this is a brand new program and we're in the process of building it, but I will do my best to answer those for you. So I wanted to focus in on the topics, and as I mentioned, these topics we're going to be doing every one topic a week for 10 weeks. And during that time, the way that the program will work is that on Tuesdays, we're going to kick off with an amazing expert who's developed a curriculum that is very practical and hands-on to those of you the stage of startup that you are at. And the goal there is to help you better understand this topic as it relates to your startup. And so as a part of that, we will be in the second hour of the Tuesday sessions, giving you some homework. This isn't busy work. This isn't work that we want you to do because we want to show that you're good students. It's work that you need to do in order to be successful in your startup. If you've already done it, great. You get a buy for the homework and you can just present it on Friday. If you haven't, or if you have other questions, one of the great parts about the way that we have the program set up is on Wednesdays, we have an entire group of amazing experts in the particular topic that we're focused in on. And you get to round robin your questions that you will have an entire group to answer for you. So if you have specific questions on, how do I really do customer discovery? Like who is my customer, or how important is it for me to both talk to patients, for example, and surgeons in my customer discovery process? Or if you want to really understand what product market fit is, and if you think maybe you're in early product market fit and you want to have a better understanding of that, this is the time that you get to very, very much personalize the questions to your own company and get that direct feedback from the experts that we'll bring in every week. On Friday, you get to present your homework in the first hour. And in the second hour, we have more discussion and feedback on the homework. And don't worry, because there's all kinds of extra. If you're one of those kids that used to raise your hand and ask for extra homework at the end of the day, we have all kinds of other resources and for you in our online platform that will be available for you to be able to dive more deeply into the topic, as well as make sure that you have the right kind of information available both in your pitch and in your data room for investors on these topics. So last, but certainly not least, and I'm not going to walk through all of these amazing mentors by name, but I'm just going to start mentioning a little bit of, and I don't even have all of them up here, so that's but I wanted to share a little bit more with you about the breadth of experience that we have for the mentors for this program. So as I mentioned before, we're going to pick one person who we believe can give added value to you in creating an interactive workshop for that first hour of kicking off sometimes it might be two people, a couple of the weeks we have people splitting that time with the topic, but what they will be doing as well is, as I mentioned, we're going to have a whole bunch of folks who are going to be coming on and giving that direct advice. These mentors, many of them will be available to meet with you outside of classroom as well. That's going to be on a dependent basis based on the mentor's level of ability to have the bandwidth and commitment to do that. But we have a number of folks who are very excited about being able to work with startups in the program. So everything from brand and marketing to investors to folks that have hospital systems and understand how hospital systems purchase things and make their buying decisions, to regulatory, to market research, to data science, and to folks who have experience in scaling early sales teams in this space. We even have folks who do clinical trials at hospitals being a part of our program and run accelerators there, as well as people who can help you with we have folks who are amazing at product development and understand that process, can give advice there. You may see some familiar faces. Stephanie and I are both on this call, but our executive director, Sandy Miller, will also be a mentor for this program. Sandy's been around the innovation community in healthcare for a very long time. She was one of the original co-founders of the Stanford Biodesign Institute, and she's been working with innovators and founders and investors, and we're thrilled to have her here now in Irvine from the Bay Area. And so she will also be mentoring in the program alongside Stephanie and myself. Stephanie has an amazing background working in startups and industry and is a scientist herself. And so she's worked in startups. She's helped build labs and build out processes within startups as well. And then lastly, we also have folks who are operations, finance, folks who have a clinical background who've scaled startups, and then folks that have not investor, insurance background and understand the payer space, which is going to be really important for most of you. I did forget to mention we are accepting companies on a rolling basis. We are in the process of reviewing companies right now, and we will be doing rolling acceptances. Get your application in before the 24th. Ryan asked, can you talk a little bit more about the time commitment? So Ryan, that's such a great question. One of the reasons why I crafted the program the way that we did here is that in running previous accelerator programs, I found that startups started to get very burnt out in meeting every single day in the program and not giving them enough time to do the sort of assignments that we had given them. And so it is 6 hours of touch time a week. And that includes the kickoff week where we'll be 6 hours in person together. And then the rest of the weeks, it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Pacific time. And the outside of the class time commitment would be any of the homework commitment. And the homework should not be more than, say, a 2-hour. And so the way that we're going to do this is it needs to be something that we can have you present quickly on the Friday. And so the actual class time homework, now from that perspective, we're going to give you the full homework that you should have for your startup in that area. And we absolutely want and encourage you to work on that, but that's not something that has to be done within that week or within that time frame. So Ivy said, I won't be able to meet the time commitment until the month of July. Unfortunately, unless you have a co-founder that could be part of our program in June, you would be missing pretty critical chunk of the program. And so that would not be available to you, unfortunately. Um, I recognize not everybody is going to be able to meet that. And, but we are trying to be mindful of the fact that you are all founders running companies. We are also trying to be value add and not wasting your time. Jason asked that he's supporting a startup that could be on the medical side of product development as well as the consumer side, and wanted to know if this would be a possibility for our program. Absolutely. In fact, while most of the program is going to be focused on B2B sales, certainly in the digital health side, especially, a lot of companies do a direct to consumer pathway. And so depending on who we get into our cohort, we will also be recruiting additional mentors that can help support. I have supported a similar company in the medical food space, and they have a direct sales line into hospitals, but they also do directly sell to consumers. So absolutely. They don't need to know which direction they're going prior to applying. In fact, a lot of what we would be working with them on will really help them better understand what is the right go-to-market strategy and who should be their beachhead market. So such a great question.